And we're going.
All right. Well, welcome back to part two of having lunch.
Zach.
We're doing it dinner style this time, just the way the schedule's worked out, I guess.
Yeah, it happens. We're having a little dim sum, Chinese food.
Yeah, I tasted a little bit before we started, and
Can we actually start off with how do you feel about Chinese food since coming back from semester abroad? Can we start there?
Yeah, we definitely can.
Okay,
so I would say there's a two-part answer to this. The first part is that my answer is going to be very intertwined with the fact that I've become vegetarian since May.
For reference, where were you studying abroad again?
I was studying abroad in Hong Kong. I was there for about 5 months, but I really spent actually about half the time traveling to a bunch of different countries in Asia.
Is it a little spicy? They're so good.
Yeah,
this is so good.
Yeah. Right. The noodles are Shanghai type noodles. They're like peanut noodles. They got a little bit of a kick to them. Very, very tasty. We got these like sesame buns with red bean paste. So when I was abroad, I used to eat just like my friends and I would just eat a crazy quantity of pork buns. That's what we would eat. This is more of a dessert. The pork buns are like meal, snack, whatever.
How are they sold?
So
where are you getting them?
They're sold everywhere, like railway stations, on the street.
Street cart style?
Some street carts, sometimes restaurants. Like the best ones that I've had are a place called Tim Ho Wan. That's the best restaurant I've had. But there was a place in Taiwan on the street where we just got these, just like they were large and soft pork buns. They were like milky white and they were just crazy. But Tim Ho Wan is most similar to this, like kind of hard exterior with coated in like sugar.
That's not how I imagine a pork bun. I imagine it being like steamed.
There are some steamed ones also.
Yeah.
So sometimes they're steamed and then sometimes they're crusty like this. I would say most pork buns are like steamed.
And would you just grab them on your way places?
We would just grab them all the time. We'd be playing basketball outside and we'd just be like, let's go grab some pork buns for a snack.
That's like such that's like such an interesting difference. Like that's the kind of thing you don't think about, but like a big lifestyle difference.
Yeah,
you know?
Very big lifestyle difference.
I would never do that ever.
I know, but you do in Asia. There's imagine no milk products. That's really what you have to consider.
Why?
Because like 90% of the populace is lactose intolerant. So there's just like, I know that one.
Dude, that's massive. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's insane.
Why?
Why is that?
Yeah.
Because have you read Guns, Germs, and Steel?
No.
So it's a fantastic book. We won't dive too deep into it now, but basically because of where animals were domesticated, like they didn't have access to that looks fantastic. In another life, I would go ham on that.
So you would go ham.
9 at this point.
Yeah.
9. Crazy that it's 9 now.
Yeah.
Crazy
Usually I usually just say 6 months or a year. Like I don't really get too specific.
9 is right in the middle there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What sparked that change, by the way? And you mentioned there were 2 factors that altered your perspective on Chinese food in America.
Okay, yeah.
One of them was
becoming vegetarian.
So what is that?
So I can talk about that. So it's something that has been on my mind for a little bit of time, mostly because of a few friends of mine for my gap year who really became ardent vegetarians and were always pushing this kind of stuff. And I was like, I like meat too much. I don't have to think about it. And I pretty much avoided it. But in Asia, so 2 of my very close friends from my gap year who had been vegetarian since the gap year, so 2.5 years of vegetarian, both decided to eat meat in Asia because you have to.
That's a great call. I think
it was a fantastic call too. Yeah. But then both of them were we're going to go back to being vegetarians afterwards. So okay, that was something on my mind. That's a possibility. And then there was a few moments where, first of all, the quantity of meat that I ate in Asia was crazy. Just every day, multiple times a day, because that's what every meal has.
Did you feel less healthy?
I felt probably less healthy for other reasons, just lots of drinking and overall overeating, but maybe that was kind of part of it. And just I remember one time in Vietnam, we were motorcycling around, and there was this big truck with 2 layers of pigs and like they were just spraying them with a hose of water. And it was
That's
like
horrific.
It was
Oh my
horrible.
god.
And I was like, oh god, this is horrible.
At least in America, it's very distant from us.
Very distant. It was not there.
Yeah.
Like in like Cambodia, there's like chickens running around places and like wet markets where like literally all the animals were just like killed that day.
So I'd rather have it be very authentic
Yeah.
and like farm style and like have a cow get killed like 100 yards away,
Yeah,
or have it be like as far away from that as it possibly be.
yeah, like in America,
Yeah.
where we
it's
just
like,
don't think about it at all.
Yeah, where it's because like at least then we don't think about it. But like I can see how I would have trouble.
We'll grab the table.
I see I could have trouble with the, I guess, animal cruelty aspect
Yeah.
of it if it was put in front of my face, you
Yeah.
know? And which I guess
Yeah.
I guess that's the benefit of like having the documentaries and things like that in the
Yeah.
US, because that's just a way of like bringing awareness to a lot
Yeah.
of people who just don't really care.
And I've seen those and they were troubling, but I always avoided them until I went actually on a silent meditation retreat in Indonesia. And
Was it Vipassana?
it was not Vipassana, because Vipassana ones are 10 days. So I just went for like 2.5 days. And this is I think probably the best song of the album.
It's very Tame Impala.
Very Tame Impala.
Yeah.
We're listening to the new Tame Impala, by the way. It came out like Saturday night, Friday
I
night,
think Friday.
very recently.
Yeah.
Oh, so like you're with yourself and only your thoughts for 2.5 days, and so because it was something on my mind, like you can't run away and be like, oh, I gotta plan this next trip or I gotta do this, do that. Like no, you are here in a jungle in northern Indonesia, you're with your thoughts and
Mountains or what was the
jungle.
Jungle.
I was
like in the like buggy, like
not a
humid?
little bit,
Like-
so I had to sleep in like a net. I slept in a net
Interesting.
because
I always imagine the silent retreats as being in the mountains with like monks. You know
So
what I mean?
it's a mountainous region, but I just remember my lookout. I was staying on the second floor of like they had like these like bunks. Think about like summer camp bunks, and my room had 3 walls. You had the front door, 2 side walls, and then a balcony overlooking the canopy top of the forest of the jungle.
like very beautiful.
Like stunning, like
Cool.
absolutely stunning. I have
I'd
it on
love to see
my
some pictures.
I have it on my phone. I'll show you after the podcast. Or you know what? I'll pull them out right now. Honestly, I could walk up to the camera and just show because these
I think that's
pictures.
another thing that's just edited after the time, probably.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we'll just we'll throw a picture up while I'm talking about nothing right now. Let's see if I can get this. This is the room. This is the view from my room in the morning.
That's so dope.
From my bed. Took this picture from laying down in my bed.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, right? We wake up at 5:30 every morning to a gong. And I was asleep by 8 p.m. because it gets dark and I'm, gotta go to sleep.
You're not doing anything.
Not doing anything, no. It was like I was sleeping 8:30 to 5:30.
Wow.
I was getting 9 hours of sleep. 9 hours of sleep, perfectly healthy, and like you're up. Like at my first meditation session at like 6 a.m. I was like in bed for like 20 minutes watching the sunrise, and then I would like run. There was like a outdoor hut area which was the central area, and that's where they'd bang the gong, and then they'd have everyone was there. It was such a cool community because no one knew anyone else, and no one was talking with anyone else, but we were all there, and we were all there just to be at peace and alive.
Did you talk with anyone on the way in or way out?
I talked with someone during check-in. There was one Brazilian woman who I talked with at check-in.
And that was it.
That was it, yeah.
So you were there for 2.5 days, yes?
Mhm.
How long do you feel you could have done it? Maximum length of time.
It's a good question.
When does it stop being? When does it stop being beneficial? When does it stop
Yeah.
being good?
So that's a good question. I think I didn't really get to the point, and I'm not sure if I wanted it my first time, but maybe I'll want it another time, where I was like, oh my god, this is too much, I gotta get out of here, and then still have to push through. Like the first day, I did it, and then the second day, like in the middle, it started, I was like, oh my god, this is so long, it's so much meditation, so much yoga, and just like no connection to anything else. But then I was like, you know what, I got like 24 hours left, I gotta just like enjoy it.
So
if there was another day or two in there, it would have been a different experience. It would have been more. I felt challenged, right? It's a challenging thing, but it wasn't I didn't like despair or was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm here for another week. Like, I could see that happening. You're on a 10-day thing, you start off like 3 days really strong, you're like, holy shit, I gotta do that 3 times over right now.
I feel like after you reach the point where it's like, this isn't fun anymore, I think if you push through that for like 2 days on like a really long one,
Yeah.
or at least that's when they say you hit like
Yeah.
zen, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's when it starts being like it's only after it sucks that it gets helpful. I think.
Yeah. A
Like,
little
did you-
bit, yeah.
Like, did you reach that, like, did you learn anything? Did you improve? Did you reach a point where
Yeah.
it's like I know what I want to do with the rest of my life,
Yeah.
like, I found peace, like,
I don't think it was life changing,
yeah.
except for the fact that like I left the retreat and was like, I'm gonna become vegetarian when I leave this.
That's awesome. I
So,
love that.
so I mean, if that's what you're looking for from life changing, but I think I just was like
That's
overall
a
at peace.
decision. That's big time.
Yeah,
for sure.
I guess it's life changing. I guess it doesn't seem life changing to me because now it's so natural. Like, of
Yeah.
course, like that's what I'm doing. But I guess it changed my life in a lot. Like, I'd be eating that rib right now.
Yeah, my life would be notably different if I didn't eat meat, I think.
Yeah. So that's the first long-winded answer to how my view on Chinese food has been different, because a lot of it was engaging with meat products on a daily basis.
Uh-huh.
And the second thing is just like the quality is somewhat less good in reality, and also less good, like my perception of it is less good. Like, as you were saying, there's something about authenticity that just is fantastic to me. Like, I love being in street food markets and there's all the food around the place and all the vendors, and you just like choose. I have like visions of like in Taiwan, the night markets, just like the best Chinese food ever, and like hundreds of stalls. I literally had the best piece of chicken of my life in Taiwan at a market, and they had these scallion pancakes, and they
The
had
single best piece of chicken.
the single best piece of
What did
chicken
it
of my
taste
life. Crispy and juicy at the same time.
Like what
And
flavor? Like what was how was it prepared? You know?
It was prepared by probably being deep fried for a long time. It was literally a 30-minute line for this chicken stand at the night market, and we met a local person there that like took us, and it was fantastic.
What do you mean met a local person?
One of my friends knew someone who's from Taiwan,
Okay.
and they were local to the area. They lived in Taipei, and they were like, this place is the place to go. And then we went and we waited on a 30-minute line. So it wasn't we were following a bunch of like white people in baseball cow or whatever.
Yeah.
It was like people that are from Taiwan or like online here, and some tourists. But
So how was your experience in Taiwan like better and more engaging because of that person? Because visiting with a local is so different than visiting
Yeah.
on like a tour.
So-
you're just gonna do very different things.
my time in Taiwan was, most of the time I was not with this person. I think we were with her just for one night. I motorcycled down the, we took a train down the coast and then motorcycled around the big national park in
Like
the
you
south.
on your own motorcycle?
Yeah. It was crazy. I didn't know how to ride. It was $2 for like a day, and
It
the
was
people didn't
$2?
speak English. They didn't like ask us if we knew how to ride motorcycles. My friends are fucking. I mean, it's good for me because I'm like more. I would have been more risk averse. This is like the first trip. I was like, I don't know if I want to do it, but I think they exerted a very positive influence on me. It was just like, fuck it, let's just take these motorcycles. You know,
And how'd that go?
really, really well for really the most part. There was one scare about running out of gas in the middle of mountains, and one time where we almost got hit by a bus curving around this like up a mountain around a curve, like supposed to be it's literally barely a one-way road, but like traffic coming in both directions, and like it was just insane.
Jeez.
We ended up like backing up with our motorcycles up this hill as like a bus tried to get around the corner on the side of like an actual like mountain cliff.
Was
type
the
of thing.
bus like stopping for you and like slowing down, or was it kind of just rolling?
There was a car in front of us that almost hit the bus and then almost went off the mountain.
Jesus.
It was fucking crazy.
And first time ever riding motorcycles.
Yeah, it was great. And then I did it in a bunch of other countries with no incidents on my behalf. I had one friend when I was with him literally hit a truck.
Crash?
crash. And
Fall
thankfully, it
off his
was
motorcycle?
fell off his motorcycle and went and like got it repaired. It was
Jesus.
terrifying. Jesus, and one other dude like fell off and like scraped his leg, but otherwise it was all good. It was a very light crash. It was like non-highway. It was just like a turn, like a bump. I mean, a bump with a van is big, but not. It wasn't horrible.
That's
Thankfully.
literally insane. That's an insane thing to do.
I guess that's pretty insane.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
good for you though.
I guess, yeah, man. I'm glad it happened.
I was very into the prospect of owning a motorcycle until I started looking into like crash statistics. And
Oh,
it's
they're
so
crazy.
scary.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna eat this bun, by the way. So it's crazy good.
No.
Mm.
Anyways, so back to the non-Vipassana retreat. So were you with monks, first of all?
Not monks. They were not monks. It was not like associated with a specific denomination. There were a few teachers that were there, or guides, I think they called them. Or like one of them was like a yogi, and one of them was like some, they have their own titles, but they would lead sessions. I would say half the sessions were fully silent, and then the only words I heard during the entire 2.5 day period were from those people when they were leading like a guided yoga specifically.
Hmm. So, to what extent were these people like model human beings? You know, would you want to be like were they very at peace? Did you find them to be like impressive in any way?
I didn't really get to know them. I didn't get to talk with them. They seemed pretty impressive.
But they didn't just have like a vibe of like
They did. Yeah.
magnanimity?
Yeah. I mean, one of the women for sure. I was like, wow, like she's living a great life. I mean, she's staying for free at this beautiful place in northern Denpasar, getting free food, meditating all day, and just like living a great life. And like she basically would lead like 2 classes a day and stay for free.
Do they have activities there?
Yes and no. So it depends what you mean by activities. Like there's 2 different like hikes and hiking paths you could do. I went on like a 2-hour hike one of the days, just alone, just like walk through the jungle. Incredible, like really, really incredible. I've never like hiked alone like that before for like multiple hours. Like no, I didn't have a phone on me. I mean,
There was just a path, like you knew.
there was a path. Yeah, there was like tree marks and like things like that all over. And they had a hot springs that was not too far away, so I went to the hot springs.
That's
And
awesome.
it was like there was natural hot springs by the river. It was crazy. And then there's like there's like all these fields that you could just kind of walk through. And they had like a group walk one night at like after the sunset. Like everyone was walking through at night through this field. It was just amazing.
Your experience abroad actually sounds like the most ridiculous thing of all time. Like more so than most that I hear. Because you just did ridiculous things, you know. It's like I don't know. You normally hear about like people like having like going to crazy parties,
Yeah.
like, that kind
I
of
mean
thing.
that happened. That
I'm
happened.
sure.
too.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that happened too. But like, that's ridiculous, you know.
Mhm. I think my experiences in nature and like doing risky things were more impactful to me, but my mindset was just the entire time, no responsibility, say yes to everything, do crazy stuff,
And
or do whatever I want.
Like, what was like top 3 takeaways? Like, what did you learn about yourself?
From all of abroad,
Yeah.
or from
Like, how did you change as Ben Kosowski?
I learned to detach from like responsibility in a way that I'd never done so before, and just like understand that like I am completely free to do whatever I want whenever I want. I think that was definitely one of my biggest takeaways. I think I learned a lot about myself in that I really got to enjoy spending time alone in like such a cool and powerful way that I think I had not done so much of in college. and I didn't always make the time for myself. I think there were periods of time in college where I did, but definitely periods where I just like kind of neglected that and was just like always doing. So like I felt really able. I mean, I didn't go to class, so I felt very able to just take a day in Hong Kong and just hang out in bed and just like read a book. Like I read so many books and like listened to so many podcasts, and I just made a lot of new friends. I think I had to remind myself of that I had that skill because it had been a while, right? Because I hadn't met.
Settled in.
I settled in at WashU, it's been
community.
yeah, and it was cool to just be somewhere completely else, and just have, I don't know, it was very cool.
So, I think a good transition here is like, how is that similar and how is that different to your ideal life? What does your ideal life look like? And then I think from there maybe we can talk about ideal societies.
Okay, my ideal
progression.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably jump very quickly to ideal societies though, because
okay.
what I'll say about my ideal life, and I would like to hear your response also before I go to ideal societies, but like a lot of it is up in the air. Like I think the things I want in my ideal life are community. I want a strong community, something where I felt really for the first time this semester doing the coaching kids basketball, like really genuinely happy and excited, and still excited for like the next game and to give back to something. I think I felt a similar way in like some organizations that I've been on campus, but this was like helping people who I have no connection to.
Because you additionally feel like you're making a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so part of your ideal life is you want to make a difference. You want to make an impact. You want to do something positive.
So yeah, I'm gonna kind of borrow from the first blog post I wrote.
You wrote it, it's not borrowing.
I guess it's not borrowing. But I want to make an impact, and I want to pursue values and acquire knowledge and engage with knowledge. And that's everything. That's like listening to new music and like talking about it or seeing new art or like watching a great TV show or like reading a great book, documentary, whatever it is. Like I want to be around knowledge, and I want to cultivate knowledge, and I want to build a value system and continue updating my operating value system.
So for you, knowledge is interlinked with culture? Is an umbrella for both? Because I've never characterized music as knowledge, but it definitely is. Or if I was thinking about knowledge in terms of something like music, I would think about music theory and like the way notes and things fit together as opposed to just like sound.
The word that I use is content. I love the word content. Like I think if you like, there's a question that I ask like kids at like Rush, and I
also like the word content, by the way.
Yeah, I'm like, tell me something. Like, you're in a room with 100 people. Like, what are you like better than everyone else at, or like no more than other people at? Like something like that.
That's a tough question for a lot of people to answer.
It's tough for a lot of people. I would say my answer is probably like absorbing content. Probably something related to absorbing content, and then maybe allowing that content to like filter in. Like I'm always just like trying to do new things and dive deeper and just like have more and have that update. I think maybe I would say I'm best at being focused on it.
Interesting. Best at being focused on learning?
On learning all the time. I think there's a way in which listening to new songs is learning, and then obviously there's a great, like I think more direct learning might be like reading a new book on like a different topic. But like I oftentimes find having new conversations is learning as well.
It should be, ideally. Everyone's got something to teach you, for sure. That's like one of the big life lessons. So back to the values thing. To what extent do you feel long term your values are going to be rooted in the like the very like orthodox, regimented Jewish set of beliefs you were raised with? What kind of extended effect do you see that having?
So consciously, very little.
Okay.
subconsciously, I don't know. That's hard to say.
Yeah, of course.
But I think probably to some extent. But ultimately, I do like some of the traditions, and I do associate with a lot of the values of Judaism, and a lot of the values that I was raised with. Just not all of them, and by the very fact of saying not all of them, that's the biggest break with Orthodoxy, right? Because Orthodoxy is all or nothing,
That's
or
an
at least.
amazing way to put that. Really good.
So I think the biggest clear break I have with my value system growing up is that I don't feel like any of it's inherently valuable, and I would never want my kids to think that it is.
So you want your kids to have the freedom to question things that maybe was not afforded to you from a very young age.
Yes, and I don't know how that will play out, but my answer is probably yes. Like, I may end up overcorrecting, and like we'll see. Like, I think one of the things about parenting is just like you don't know until you
you're
start,
in. Yeah.
and then like the first kid's going, and you're like, is this too much, too little? But like, I would not be surprised if I kind of
And next thing you know,
overcorrected.
you have a grown human that's just been
Yeah,
imbued with all of your,
all of your stuff, or hopefully imbued with the idea that they can challenge any of your stuff at any time, or like challenge anything that they've been taught at any time.
Yes. I just wonder to the extent that would manifest itself positively. You wouldn't make for a great, classroom student if you're thinking that way.
I was never a great. I mean,
I was
it depends.
not- I was
Depends how you
not.
define great. If you define great as like sometimes sitting in the back and doodling on my like whatever paper, or sometimes sitting in the front of the classroom and answering more than 50% of the questions, like that was me. And I don't imagine I'll raise easy to be with teenagers, but I don't think I'm optimizing for that either.
Good. Okay. So how does can we summarize? So your
Yeah.
ideal life is having a strong set of values, having a forum to make an impact,
Yeah,
and
I would say
Having-
yeah.
having the perspective to always be learning and acquiring new knowledge.
That works. The way I would frame it would be more like if values, community, impact.
Okay.
And impact includes like at work and like feeling challenged and satisfied at work. Like I think that includes impact because that's what I'll be doing for a lot of my time.
What do you think in terms of being more like centered in reality, like ideal life in terms of less abstract, in terms of like practical day to day, like what are you doing, where are you living,
Yeah.
what are the factors that influence that,
It's funny because
and then
I
how
think-
does that
yeah.
change if you were in your ideal society?
Okay. I'm gonna answer the first question. Then I'm gonna make you answer,
Okay.
and then I'll give you my idealized society.
Okay.
So, what my day to day looks like, I have a really good sense of it. I think for like when I'm in my
How is
30s
it
and
for
40s.
you, by the way?
Tofu's fantastic.
Okay, I'm happy.
There's a little more in there.
No, that's for you. I'm not
So-
a tofu guy, but
It's good tofu. I am a tofu guy now. I never was, but it's good. I have a good sense for when I'm in my 30s and 40s because I like kind of saw my parents go through it and like people a little bit younger than them, and I like know kind of the deal. Like I want to come home, I want to try and have like family dinner at like 7 every night or something, and then like put the kids to sleep, and then I can do it right. Like that's kind of, and then like on weekends I want to be like super casual. Like hopefully, well, if I'm in some kind of Jewish community, then I imagine like a Shabbat lunch, and even the idea of having a Shabbat-like atmosphere is somewhat intriguing to me. Also somewhat repulsive, but also somewhat intriguing. And I just think I might have to live with that cognitive dissonance, or we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fun.
Depending on what kind of community I'm in.
I like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I have a good sense of that, and then I just don't really have a great sense for like early 20s, pre-marriage, pre-kids. I don't have a sense for at all pre-kids. Like once you have children, then your life starts becoming a lot more regimented because like you want to be home and around kids. But pre-children and then like pre-marriage, pre-children are like some interesting periods. So I truly don't know exactly what my life will. All I have for reference is this past summer where I had a fantastic time, but I didn't like settle into long-term routines.
Well, of course not.
Yeah, it was there for a summer. So I mean, I don't really have a good sense of what like the 20s, like the next 5-year period will look like. But I also think that's
an
okay.
ambiguity.
I think it's I like that it's like the good type of anxiety. That's how I phrase
It's
it.
excitement.
Yeah, it's excitement, but with all it's not like pure excitement. I know every. I mean,
Because it's a little scary.
yeah, I'm pretty sure things will be pretty good, but there's lots of opportunity for things not to be good.
Well, I mean, it's like some things are gonna be good, some things are gonna be bad. You know.
Which makes it fun.
Yeah, but that's also a guarantee. You know, there's
Yeah.
always gonna be some of both, which is
Yeah.
Does that kind of removes anxiety from things for me?
When you take the step back.
Yeah, it's like no matter what I'm doing, some of it's gonna be good and some of it's gonna be bad, and like
Yeah.
it's kind of just like
Kind of just
that's
the deal.
That's just the deal of literally
Yeah.
everything you're gonna do. So like, do you worry like is the whole thing gonna suck? Like no, it's never gonna
Yeah.
happen just because that's not how.
It's because we're programmed,
Yeah.
right? We have these reference points where everything is just going to adjust to our expectations before. So if things are going shitty, our expectations are going to be lower. And then if they continue going shitty, our expectations are going to go lower and lower until they reach the new median. And then things will get right. Like that's just,
Yeah.
then the expectations will be too low. And then things will start going better and then we'll be happy. And,
and it'll
it just
keep
adjusts.
adjusting. Yeah.
And that's our whole life is it's just riding out reference points. But I think the key to living a good life, yeah, I think the key
Big
to
line.
one of the keys to living a good life is being able to first of all recognize reference points and like mentally adjust them sometimes, or like manually adjust them when they need to be adjusted. Like sometimes expectations are just like too high for something, and it's just like, okay, I just like need to adjust for like all like lots of things could go, and like telling myself that.
You just need a
actually
reality
works.
check.
Like,
Yeah.
So reality check is the word, the correct English
It's the
word.
colloquialism.
Is but I would say it's just like a reference point
Yeah.
adjustment is
That's
the
it.
terminology I would use. But yeah,
I like
reality
that.
check
I
too.
mean, it's more. I think it views things more rationally
Yeah,
because a reality check has a very like emotional kind
Yeah.
of, you know.
but I think ultimately like one of the keys for my happiness, and
A
that's not
reference
to say I'm
point
always
adjustment.
happy. Yeah,
I really
adjusting
like that.
reference points
I really
and
like
then
that.
savoring it when things outpace your expectations and not dwelling on it too much, especially not like looking back and worrying so much when things don't meet your expectations.
So that's like I really like that kind of viewpoint because it makes you kind of just take a different look at, let's say, an experience that is supposed to like develop you as a person is something like going to the military.
Yeah.
But from this kind of line of thinking, what that really is doing is it's just setting your expectations for things lower or different.
Different, and like giving you a higher capacity to deal with hardship, let's say.
Yeah. But
Which is a really useful tool. It's a reference point tool. It's like elasticity of a reference point across the spectrum of being able to deal with tough situations.
So that's setting your reference point here and saying I expect things to be this good, and then having the capacity to be like, but if they're this bad, then
I can
I
deal
can
with
get
it.
through
Right? It's the same way that when you pamper children too much and don't let them have any harm, then they don't have any like flexibility. Like their reference point is things are always going to be like super comfortable and everything's going to be taken care of. And then when they face hardship, it's really, really hard because
and then the reference point drops, and they've just got no capacity,
and it's
then
really
they're-
hard.
and then they're just depressed.
Yeah, but then they'll adjust. Then they'll probably adjust, but they will go through a very rough period when they first have to face hardship. Because like that band of their reference point,
So
right? I
this-
think reference points are made up of a whole host of different factors, and they're different for each person and different weights for each person. But you know, having certain experiences can give you more elastic on your reference point in some ways.
So this like ties in super well to my like one of my favorite quotes, and it's from Jerry Seinfeld. It's from Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
Okay,
and
yeah.
It was the episode with Kevin Hart, which I think is pretty funny.
Uh-huh.
But like Jerry's basically explaining to Kevin Hart that like, because Kevin Hart was telling a story about how he took his kids to where he grew up.
Uh-huh.
And then his kids were like, "Oh, this is so cool. This is where Dad grew up." And Kevin Hart was like, "This is not the lesson I was trying to impart. Like, get back in the car. Like,
Yeah.
we're leaving. Like, we're done here." And Jerry Seinfeld goes, that's because the struggle for us was things are bad, so we need to make it better.
Yeah.
And the struggle for our kids is going to be things are good, so why do I feel so bad?
Yeah.
And I think that's just
That's
the
a brilliant
most,
line.
that's just the most like succinct way
That's
of like expressing that sentiment. He said
That is
that,
brilliant.
I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He's a smart guy.
He's a really smart guy.
But in terms of like reference points, if you wanted to put it in that perspective, I guess that's because you're starting with a higher reference
Exactly.
point, and then when things start going kind of bad, you're just like, what? Like this feels
Yeah.
terrible. Like what's happening?
Versus, like, if you grow up in a really poor neighborhood or poor family or something like that, and you're used to seeing these types of things, and you're able to escape that, life must be so amazing.
Yeah.
Like if you spend, I'm failing a little bit.
No,
If you spend 20 years, like living in just like in destitution and like having like to see your parents work like multiple jobs and always stressing about like working paycheck to paycheck, and you're able to escape that,
and
that's
maybe
crazy.
establish a good life for yourself.
Yeah.
I imagine you're just looking around, going like, "This is pretty great.
Pretty
like, I
great.
feel like I did
Yeah.
something pretty big." here."
Much more so than if you just like were always.
Than if you're a kid born in that house.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah.
like, "Yeah, this is a house, but this all like everything else sucks."
Yeah. And then you're always gonna be chasing, because then they'll be like, oh, what about the guy next door's house? And you're just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I grew up in like whatever. Like my grandfather grew up in like a 1-bedroom apartment with like 5 people, and
It's
like
having the breadth
yeah.
of experiences, because I think having things to compare, I think having comparison points for yourself means you have to compare to other people less, probably.
I
Comparing to other
yeah.
people, but comparing to other people is generally just bad practice, because like that just makes you unhappy. Because there's always other people who have something that you don't.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
think-
better to compare to yourself in the past as opposed to doing that like
Yeah.
with other people in the present, and I think that's easier done when you have
Yeah.
when you're our parents and have that breadth of
Yeah.
experiences.
This is a hard thing for me because I fail at this time after time, but I generally try
Regularly.
to not compare myself to other people at all.
I would imagine most people, particularly in our age group and in our environment, that's probably something a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
Just thinking like, hey, like I've got it good, or like thinking like what's the best I can do at this thing, as opposed to thinking like, why try it that someone else is better.
Yeah. I think exactly. I think maybe even with this podcast, like I don't know, maybe other people could be better, but like
100% other people
yeah,
are better.
yeah,
But the other thing that helps me a lot of the time is those other people probably weren't better when they started. Or if they were, maybe only a little bit, they probably
Yeah.
just feel bad.
yeah. So the Joe Rogan first podcast was I mean it's great now, but
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen the very first episode, but I bet it was terrible.
it was horrible.
Yeah.
I watched the beginning of it.
Really? And it's just not watchable, right? I'm gonna do that. That's fun.
Yeah. I at least think watching this won't be so bad because we're eating food, so it's like, oh, what are they eating? Or like,
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's also
I think it's funny.
yeah. I mean, it also is like the expectation isn't set for this to catch fire and
No,
for
I
us
don't-
to be professional
Totally not.
podcasters.
Yeah.
If that were to happen, would you be ready to commit to the podcast? That's a funny question.
As a full-time job. Full-time podcasting, I would not want to do. I would do
full-time
weekly.
podcasting isn't what anyone does. Well, I mean, even Joe
What
Rogan.
does Joe Rogan do?
I guess he podcasts probably like maybe 2 hours every like 3 days or every.
Oh, that's it?
But
I feel like Sam Harris does like every day.
Yeah, well, I guess Joe Rogan also does comedy and
Yeah.
also has all these other things and like, you know.
But I like the idea.
And he does the UFC thing. He does
Yeah,
Brazilian
yeah.
jiu-jitsu. And the guy works out.
Yeah.
He's got things.
I like
He's got
the
the best
idea.
life, I think. He's got the best.
He's got
life.
he's got a very good life.
Yeah.
I like what the Very Bad Wizards guys
Is that ideal
do.
life? I don't know.
So, is that ideal? Yeah. I would like at some point to have a weekly podcast.
Oh, it'd be great.
I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. I wonder how podcasts are going to be doing by the time like where
Yeah.
like real people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's such a new means of communication. This is a hard thing to get.
The bok choy.
Uh-huh.
Also, everything is just like we're kind of. I mean, maybe all times are like this, and maybe this is how people are. But I feel like we're very much in a time of flux, where we're pushing towards new things at all times.
More so now.
More so now. Well,
The rate of change is the fastest now than it's ever been in
I don't
history.
think more so. I think maybe it just comes more readily because of technology. And I think
Technology enables it.
yeah.
to change
So it's
faster,
kind of
yeah.
it's just like what's happening. I think it's the push for newer thing. So I just don't know what kind of, no one can know what kind of media people are going to be consuming in 5-10 years.
Just think about this. Think about this, right? Like in the year 1800, there was like no conception of like people working in technology and like the fact that the smartest people would be there. And like let's say pre 1700, right? Like and most people were subsistence farmers or worked at the church or worked in the army. Right now we have billions of people on the planet, and millions of them are like of the smartest people are devoted to developing new technology, and we have this entire financial system that puts billions and billions and billions of dollars behind these crazy new technologies, and then they happen.
It's like it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's just it's the epitome of like manifestation of idea, of creation, basically.
Yeah, of creation.
Which is really interesting.
I think for me, what was so interesting about working in like for a growth stage firm is getting to be a part of that. It's like working with ideas that are in the midst of taking off and just like pouring jet fuel on them, or sorry, pouring oil on the fire, or like lighting.
I understand.
Yeah.
Do you feel better suited to being on the financial side as opposed to the invention side? Like, do you think you're better off in the growth stage equity role as opposed to the venture creation role?
If I have an idea that I really think is good, I will do it. I will go for it. I don't know if or when that will happen.
So you see yourself as an entrepreneur at some point, potentially?
Potentially could be an entrepreneur, or if I like it, the most likely scenario is if I like someone else's idea a lot and they're just getting started, I'll be like, hey, I have these years of experience helping advise and invest in, tons of companies that have gone through exactly this. Why don't you bring me on as something, and then I can do that. And it's not so important to me that I came up with the idea myself.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
I would want to just empower a cool idea.
I also think it shouldn't be important to want to be the CEO.
I don't need to be the CEO.
Yeah.
I want some level of responsibility. I don't need. In fact, the CEO is, you got to deal with lots of annoying stuff as CEO.
It's in the start of being the CEO is mostly like pitches. I feel like.
I'd rather be chief strategy officer than CEO.
Yeah.
Any day of the week, I'd be chief strategy officer over CEO. Because the little pay difference is not a big deal.
Yeah, I think that's a big factor in my ideal life. Having money not be a factor in my decision making. I think that's really important to me.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that's true right now.
But it will be.
No, I'm not saying it even will be. I'm saying that's ideal. I'm saying whatever I'm doing, I want to just be able to do what I want. Money's no object, which is a really, But who doesn't want that? Everyone wants that. But I really want that.
I think to an extent I want that. That doesn't mean for me like I want a private jet. Let me buy one.
No, me neither.
Yeah, I want it to be like if I want to travel somewhere or buy my children a present or like go out to a nice dinner, I don't have to think about like, oh, am I not going to make this month's rent?
I just want freedom. I don't want excess so much.
That's
Except
what
for clothes. I think I want really nice clothes. I think ideal life, like I have like I want some connection to fashion in that I want I want to be interacting with it at the highest level is what I mean.
Yeah.
I want to be
fair.
I want to be one of the movers behind the cultural aspect.
Yeah.
That ideally.
I think for me, my splurge is like travel. I want to be able to go on multiple big trips every year for however long.
Do you want to travel to see or travel to do?
Both.
Okay.
Easy both. See, do, experience, all the above. I'm really interested. So this summer, I'm still working on my travel plans, but I'll probably have about 2 months to travel. And something I'm really excited for is traveling to Israel, which I fully intend to do for at least a week.
Okay.
And what will be so cool about it is I spent over a year in Israel, but all the time I had like a central thing going on. Like I was studying during my gap year, I was working during my summer.
Home base Tel Aviv.
I want to go home base Tel Aviv for at least a week, and I won't feel like if I go to any other place, I'll be like, I gotta go see the museums, go do the hike, and do this and do that. And I like that about traveling, but Israel will be like a vacation where I already know where everything is, and I'll just be like returning, and I'll just like eat great food and like go to the beach, and then like go out at night and just like see friends, and like hopefully read a lot and listen to lots of podcasts. And just
Where
live a
in
good
Israel
life.
would you want to travel? I feel like I have an amazing time in Tel Aviv,
Yeah.
but I don't necessarily want to.
Yeah,
Like, honestly, I like Jerusalem. I didn't love being there as much. I think Tel Aviv's a great city to live in. It's also
Yeah.
very young. It's
Yeah.
like really energized. I think it's just
yeah.
like a good place.
For my gap year, I'm glad I was in Jerusalem,
Mm.
and then for my summer, I was glad I was in Tel Aviv.
Yeah. Why are you glad you're in Jerusalem for gap year?
I was able to. I think if I was in Tel Aviv, I would have ended up just like going to the beach and just like drinking beer and bumming around in a good way, but also in a way where I maybe wouldn't have like challenged myself as much. There's something cool about being in Jerusalem, like being in the markets, or just I also just we were right next to a park. And me and my friends would just go play basketball after, and we'd like walk home from class every day, and it was like through this residential neighborhood. Like Jerusalem has a really interesting character to it that I just haven't seen anywhere else in the world. And maybe that's because I lived there for 9 months, but also maybe there's something really special about it.
Special how? Different how?
It's such an old city. Like, it's so old, and there's so many old stuff, and then there's also some really new stuff. And it's like super residential right now, and it's also very interesting because I've gone there about 6 times as like a kid or a teenager with my family and did one thing, and I had a completely different lived experience during my 9 months there. And I just like know the streets like the back of my hand right now, which is like crazy. I could like I could do like multiple miles of like a walk in Jerusalem with like nothing right now, and that's insane.
Did you feel unsafe at any times?
No, even though it was the most unsafe time in the past probably 10 years in Israel. Like there were multiple stabbings and like shootings, including someone that I knew, so just like crazy things happened, but I didn't really feel unsafe so much.
Okay. So I think the thing about Jerusalem for me is like I like that there's a mix and you kind of get a bit of an Arab city and a bit of like kind of like a European city and like it's just like got like a lot of because it does have that region of it's very modern and then you can really go towards the Western Wall and see some like stone buildings and some really crazy things. And I think that's cool. I think the way they go out at night and just go to the shuk.
Yeah, it's
I think
fantastic.
it's really.
I love the shuk.
I think that's lovely. Yeah, I think that's like and just like big speakers and playing the same music everywhere.
Yeah.
Just having a bunch of open bars. And,
Yeah,
you go to the middle, it's like
and,
people like dancing.
Yeah.
You go like 2 streets over, it's people just like chilling, smoking hookah. Like, and there you kind of do see a lot of cultures interact. Yeah. Especially in the summer when I was there, when you have a lot of Americans coming through also.
Yeah, birthright Americans or just general Americans there. Yeah.
So that was really interesting. It also was interesting to, I don't know, it felt weird because at one point when I was at the Western Wall, I went in through like this like kind of like side route.
One of the side routes through the Arab market.
Yeah, and then we got like in and I walked into like the actual wall part that was segmented through like a side entrance. I think there's only supposed to be an exit. And I thought there would be kippahs further down, and I kind of walked down there and had no kippah. Someone started running at me yelling. I was like, shit, like, I'm sorry, like, really my bad.
Yeah.
And, like, I had to run out and get it, but, like, it was a really crazy thing.
Yeah, wow. That sounds crazy, yeah.
Just because it was just, like, I'd never been to a place where it'd be such, like, a big deal.
It's so crazy because, like,
someone was charging
2,000 years ago you're there, like, no one's wearing kippahs, so, like, it wouldn't be a big thing like that.
Just because Israel hadn't been established?
No, just because kippahs weren't, like, a big, they're not, like, in the Torah.
Really?
Kippahs are not in the Torah at all.
I didn't know, so where did they come from?
It's like...
Are the suits and the hats and the...
No, that's That's a 17th century Polish aristocracy garb that they chose. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
So
So,
what does it
my
say
friends and
about
I,
it?
we'd always joke. We're like, "Oh my God, it's a member of the aristocracy!" Like we'd always
That's
joke.
funny. I had no
It was
idea.
funny. It's a little. I can see how it could be hurtful, but it's also a little bit funny.
Yeah, but
because it's pretty crazy.
But the Haradim are just like
Yeah.
that whole, like that's
A
not,
lot of people dress like the
But per-
aristocracy in the
but
country.
per
at
the
the-
Torah, that's not.
No, of course not. Yeah.
That's really
Yeah,
fascinating.
yeah. I mean, they were like a bunch of like shepherds and farmers. Like, no one's wearing those outfits outside in the Middle East. Like, no. That's like in Poland and Lithuania in 1700 when reform movements started coming up. They were like, we have to like entrench ourselves and like create all these stringent rules. Like, you have to dress this way. You can't communicate with the outside world. Like, that was what like ultra
It was a
orthodoxy.
defense mechanism.
The concept of orthodoxy, yes, exactly. It didn't exist until the 1700s, because there was no reform or conservative. It was just Jewish. Like, you were just Jewish, and then there were like people that would study in yeshiva.
Wow.
Yeah, and then like the Enlightenment happened, and like in some countries, Jews like Spinoza was like in Amsterdam and then started like writing shit, and then they like expelled him from the community. They're like, your ideas are dangerous, and like they were genuinely worried about intermarriage and just like the concept of Jews being able to marry a non-Jew is so incredibly new in the scheme of Judaism. It's just like, it makes sense. These were like reactionary movements against Jews being able to get out of the ghetto and engage in the real world. That's what ultra orthodoxy is a movement against. And by the way, an extraordinarily successful one at that. They replicate like crazy and have crazy high retention rates. And they were almost fully wiped out during the Holocaust. And then there were like in the numbers of tens of thousands of Orthodox Jews in Israel in like 1948, and now there's like a million.
Well, that's awesome.
They just replicate like in 70 years. They just like 100x. That's like
Yeah.
if everyone has 9 kids, that's what happened, right? Like 9 and then 81. Like that's the whole thing.
Yeah. Nuts. Literally nuts.
Yeah. One person turns into 2 people turn to 81, and in 2 generations, if you're averaging 9 kids,
I mean, that's kind of legendary. Like, you're here.
and they all stay, and then they all do the same thing.
Yeah. And then suddenly.
It's not that high. That number is not that high, but honestly, in Nigeria, the number was pretty close to that. The ultra orthodox number, I think, is like 6 or something. Still high.
So, where does the kippah come from?
It's a good question. So, I don't know the exact answer, so I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up just because I'm very interested.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
So,
I've always accepted that.
the Yiddish-
That's another thing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, so in Jewish law. So, okay, wow, interesting. So the 17th century rabbi, the Taz, who happens to be like a great-great-grandfather of mine, is like quoted on Wikipedia here. This is again
Your
in the 17th
great-great-grandfather?
Yeah.
Who was a
Um,
rabbi? Was quoted on Wikipedia?
Yes, quote on Wikipedia,
Okay.
saying that the reason for the kippah was to distinguish Jews from non-Jews. And then the Rambam, who was someone a little bit earlier, about 500 years before that, living in Egypt, said that you have to wear a kippah when you're praying. But basically, it came up in Jewish law in the Talmud. So about 2,000 years ago, people started saying you can't walk without a kippah. And so that's when it started. But it's
It
nowhere.
came up because Jews started living around non-Jews. Because when it was just a purely Jewish community, who cares?
Yeah. But the original thing started in the Talmud, and then it became like a really big. It became a really big thing. It's not in the Torah. I guess is the point. Yeah. Very, very interesting stuff.
When you go to Tel Aviv,
Yeah. So the one more interesting thing. It said that like people who are not married didn't used to wear a kippah. Like that was the original thing. Like why
Oh, is it
you're
a
not
white
married. Yeah. Yeah, and then the Tanakh itself, like the Torah, implies that like head coverings were only used as like a sign of mourning, like when people died or like when something happened, then like people would wear, people would wear it. And a lot of Sephardic communities, which is like the exiles from Spain, a lot of people in North Africa, some people only eat it when eating and praying. That was like a big custom. But now it's mostly seen as everyone's like, oh, like this is like a big custom. It's a very funny Curb episode where Funkhauser gets his kippah knocked out. It's very good. Yeah.
I watched Palestinian Chicken.
Yeah, well, that one. Okay, Palestinian chicken. That's what I was about to say. Funkhauser gets the kippah knocked off his head.
And he was like, "Don't touch my
kippah." Yeah.
It's such a funny
Yeah,
thing.
it's not like a really important object at all.
Yeah.
Now it has come to become a more important object than originally. It was a throwaway line in a couple lines in the Torah, not saying directly to do it, and then like someone wrote about it in the Talmud, like the Code of Law.
And my favorite's the argument outside the chicken place when he's just like, "Don't wear that in there."
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Why do you bring that in there?
Yeah.
I thought that was a really funny episode.
And then the sex scenes between the Palestinian woman. Oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah. And then at the
It's
end,
like, fuck me like you fuck my people.
Yeah, crazy.
Crazy.
It's funny. It's funny how much of a thing it is. So the other day I was looking at, do you know like the Hadids, like Gigi Bella?
Yeah. I mean, I know, yeah.
So they're like Palestinian and something else,
Okay.
and like I was just thinking like, wow, like if we met, would that be a thing? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's kind of weird because like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just weird. That's like a cult, like a conflict that I'm somehow attached to.
Yeah, even though you probably feel like you're not attached to it at all.
But I am, you know.
But you are, yeah.
I am.
We
It's
are.
interesting.
Yeah. It's a crazy conflict.
So-
it's crazy.
I don't think we should talk about
Yeah.
stances on that.
I agree. Yeah.
I
I mean, we could. I just think it
I
would be
think
less
we-
interesting than other topics.
Yeah, I also think we could, and I think we probably have similar perspectives. I have to guess. But,
Yeah.
how about this? What role does religion play, if any, in your ideal society?
In
Does
ideal
religion-
society or my ideal life?
Ideal society.
Okay.
Let's go
So
there.
I'll jump to ideal society.
Yeah, I
it's
think
good because it's kind of where we left off last time.
Yeah.
Before I jump to that, I'm gonna run to the bathroom. Let's do a quick pause.
Let's do it. I might get more ribs.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Dude, this Chinese place is bomb.
Yeah. Also, this podcast is going so well. This is the right amount of